What's up, you guys? This is Rob from Gay Guy Plays, and today on the Snapshot, the support synergies are strong when we set our sights on the Cyanex. So sad the same can't be said when it's set up for solo. So you can pick up the Cyanex's blueprints in the Corpus lab of your clan dojo. However, do be aware that it does require Mastery rank 8 to craft, as well as a handful of Hexanon and a fully built Forma. Now, of course, there is a little bit of a sting to that because this weapon contains no innate polarities whatsoever. So if you want to go ahead and bypass that, you can always pick it up in the market pre-built along with a weapon slot and a catalyst for 175 plat. Now, before we jump into combat, let's go ahead and take a look at the Cyanex on paper. Sentient tech merges with Corpus design to deliver this lethal sidearm. Fully automatic, it fires ricocheting homing projectiles that release small clouds of gas on impact. Alt fire to release an entire clip without homing as a single burst. So we've got two different fire modes here that behave very, very differently. So first up, we have the full auto. The accuracy is 1.8, but that's really not a big deal, mainly because of the fact that the projectiles are homing. Its critical chance and critical multiplier are very low at 8% and 1.4 times damage. Its fire rate is 4.67, a magazine of 11. It's got a reload speed of 2.2, which does hurt just a little bit. And then we have a status chance of 32%, which is definitely going to be the thing that kind of carries this weapon. As you can see, its base damage on this fire mode is impact and gas, with impact leading the way. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting because things change up when we go into the burst. You can see that the accuracy is 80. So it's got a lot of accuracy on this thing. Its critical chance and critical multiplier have not changed whatsoever, but the fire rate is 10.05. It's a very, very fast burst. Nothing really changes from that point on, aside from the fact that it does gain 0.5% punch through, and down at the bottom, you'll notice that it's actually got a full-on IPS spread with no gas whatsoever. So we've got Slash leading the pack at 38.9, Puncture coming in at 30.2, and Impact at 2.9. So we've got some interesting things to mix up the way that this gun plays. Let's take a look at how it performs. Alrighty, so as you can see, I've got 3 Billies here that are completely locked down, and a Cyanex that is unmodded, because I wanted to go ahead and show you how the full auto function works. So straight out of the gate, I'm just going to go ahead and take a quick shot, and as you can see, it ricochets. It goes ahead and bounces from one target to the next, but one of the things I want you to notice is there was no gas in that whatsoever. The gas actually is from the base of the weapon proccing. So there's no kind of like innate accurate effect where you always get a gas cloud. It's just all based on the status chance of the weapon. As you can see, the homing isn't necessarily the greatest because I fired a single shot there and it completely whiffed, but it tries. See? It's really trying, but as you can see, it bounces one time. That's another thing that I wanted to go ahead and point out as well. Now, when it comes to the burst fire of this weapon, I've only got 6 left in the clip, but you just hit your secondary fire, and boom. No more homing, but a very, very highly accurate burst. So it's definitely a nice way to kind of mix things up. But if I'm going to be honest with you, neither of these are really standalone features, and you'll see what I mean when we go ahead and toss some mods. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how this performs on a single target real quick, just so that you guys can get an idea of how it performs on its own. So as you can see right there, I'm not really trying to aim for anything because of all of the homing projectiles just kind of spread around left, right, and center. And we're getting a lot of status in there, which is helping us clear his armor. However, we are in 3 clips deep, and it's almost taken us a 4th to kill him. So that is a little bit sad. Now, because of the fact that this is mainly a status weapon, it doesn't really have much crit. It doesn't have enough oomph to kind of go ahead and take out the HP. However, you know, it does bring his defenses down, which is very, very handy. So let's go ahead and take a look at that yet again. Now, notice I'm once again not really like aiming for anything, just in his general direction. and then I'm going ahead, stripping off his armor, and we're still about 4 clips in to be able to do all of that. Now, we do have to make note of the fact that this is actually going to hit multiple targets, right? So this is not necessarily just meant to be a single target weapon, but we'll get into the benefits of that in a second. I'm going to go ahead and show you how the alternate fire works, and then we'll go ahead and kind of combine the both of them. So as you can see right here, and keep note, I do have a Magnum Force on this build, so the accuracy isn't actually as good as it would be without it, but even with that in there, you're still able to really get some good headshots in. So we've got some damage that we're able to do, but we are flying through our clips very fast. Now, keep in mind, I have tried plenty of builds on this weapon. In fact, we'll talk about a lot of builds in a minute, but I did try one that was actually like ammo mutation focused and actually had a fast reload speed to it so that you could empty clips repeatedly. It was not good, but I got creative with this weapon, which was really, really fun. So as you can see there, just the burst fire on its own isn't necessarily enough of a powerhouse in order to take a bombard down in a decent amount of time. So we're going to go ahead and mix things up right now, and we're going to do a little bit of both, all right? So I'm going to use 2 clips in order to kind of whittle down the armor, and as you can see, we've done it. And then we kind of like lay in there with another clip. I'm just going to let him die like that. So that's 3 clips in total. That's 3 clips in total that we use to kill a bombard. We do have to keep in mind this is a Mastery Rank 8 weapon, so we can't necessarily expect it to perform like, you know, something that's higher. But one of the things that I will point out, and this is where we start chatting about different variants of the builds that we can use on this weapon. I'm gonna do a little something for you real quick. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and toss out some of that, not even use an entire clip, and then we're gonna do a little Arya Stark switcheroo at the last minute and bring in the Redeemer Prime. Now, as you can see, the one thing that is absolutely fantastic about the Cyanex is the fact that it can spread a lot of status. So I mean, we're just looking at it as a single target right now. But because of the fact that we can inflict so much status, right? We can just go ahead and lay in with our melee weapons, whether you're using a Condition Overload Zaw with a ton of range and sweeping through a big crowd of enemies, or you want to be able to take down a single big target via the use of Redeemer Prime. Now, I want to go ahead and point this out real quick. Redeemer Prime, on its own, it takes like maybe 2 shots to take it down. If you get some good headshots and I'm not like dropping him all over the place, it's pretty quick to take down with Redeemer Prime. That was actually a very, very bad demonstration of how well Redeemer Prime can work. So I'm sorry for those of you guys out there who do love the Redeemer Prime. But usually, you know, it takes a couple shots. It'll take usually 2 rounds to take out something this high, right? But if you combine that with the Cyanex, you can take them out in literally just a couple pings of the Cyanex. And you don't even really have to aim, right? You just get in there, just do a couple of that, just do that, and just erase him completely. And that's why I feel like the Cyanex is a really, really great support weapon and absolutely amazing for your Condition Overload builds, which is what is going to be reflected in the build that we take a look at. But there will be discussions and we'll play. So as for the build, you can see that I leaned heavily into bumping up the base damage as well as the status chance of this weapon. We've got Augur Pact and Magnum Force doing some of the heavy lifting, and then we've got 3 status elemental mods in there as well. Now, there are going to be some people that want to argue to push this all the way up to 4 status elemental mods so that we can get up to 100% status chance. And listen, if that's what you want to do with your build, go ahead and feel free. However, this is actually what fits with my Redeemer Prime setup. So here we have corrosive heat and gas, and then on my Redeemer Prime, I've got radiation, viral, as well as blast. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I could push this all the way up with another blast. However, I don't necessarily like the blast status effect all that much, mainly because of the fact that it makes headshots unavailable, and because of the fact that I am using a Redeemer, I want to be able to get that multiplier in there. And I do know that with blast, there's some, you know, wonky like stealth multipliers that can kind of be in play, but you know what? I'm just going to keep that on the down low so some people can keep doing what they're doing with all of that. However, this is the way that I personally like setting it up. Now, there are a lot of variations that I do like, so remember, if you're going to use this as a Condition Overload primer to keep in mind what's going on with your other melee weapon. Because what you could do is drop Augur Pact and then go ahead and run another status elemental mod in there and swap this over to produce viral radiation, and then you'll have gas as well. And that's kind of like this really, really cool CC where everybody is fighting everybody and they're being hit with gas clouds and they've got their health halved, and then you could use a corrosive melee weapon to go ahead and kind of finish off that group, like maybe a Zaw. That would be very, very nice as well. One of the other things that I do want to point out with this setup is that when I was using blasts on there, the blast of course was equal to the amount of corrosive damage that I had. So what happened is it kind of took a little bit more priority and I didn't get as much armor stripping as I wanted to. If you want to focus on armor stripping, you could go ahead and drop Scorch completely and put on like a Convulsion or a Pathogen rounds to kind of bump up that specific damage type, so that way you can go ahead and get more of those procs. But honestly, this is the setup that I've been enjoying using the most to kind of prime enemies with that. Now, I do want to kind of give you guys a little bit of a heads up. I did a lot of playing with this. I've tried a bunch of different builds. In fact, I had one which was an ammo mutation build that actually dropped, I believe it was Augur Pact, and I went with Viral and I used MAME on this, the slash proc one, and I just went full burst the entire time. And the reason that I had ammo mutation on there was because of the fact that I was eating up so much ammo. I didn't like it. But you know what? If that's your cup of tea, go ahead and do that. The Cyanex offers a lot of very interesting variable play when it comes to this being a support weapon. Okay, so final thoughts on the Cyanex. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I'm kind of disappointed because when they first mentioned this weapon, I was really looking forward to seeing some really cool mechanics in a very strong standalone weapon. I mean, gas clouds and ricocheting bullets, that just sounds all kinds of dope. But now seeing it in action, I'm like, okay, I get what it's doing, but it's not necessarily a stand-alone weapon, which makes me sad because it looks really, really dope. However, that doesn't mean that there isn't room for it somewhere in the world of Warframe. As you guys know, there's going to be like a whole lot of dual wielding going on with Melee 3.0, so maybe this is just their way of kind of like setting that up, right? We're going to be able to use this with the glaive already, and maybe with rapiers a little bit down the line, and I think that's going to be really dope to set up a lot of those condition overload builds that we've seen so far. So while it's not exactly what I wanted, I do have to say it does kind of bring forth a really, really interesting mentality, kind of like where DE's talking about amalgam mods. This is almost kind of like an amalgam weapon where you really want to blend it with the other weapons in the rest of your kit. So very, very interesting. Let me know how you guys feel about the Cyanex down in the comments below. Are you guys disappointed that it's not like the best standalone weapon out there, or are you kind of open-minded to it being this kind of like status inflictor where you can go ahead and kind of like manipulate the battlefield in order to use things like condition overload? Regardless, that about does it for me for now. I hope you guys enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. And as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch yo body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!